What's good, YouTube? It's me, your boy Squiddy, back in another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about cards that you should definitely play in your deck. Okay, we just had our first weekend of major events as well as regionals. There are dozens of deck profiles out there. We're kind of seeing how the metagame is shaping up. And it's a little bit like we suspected, you know, things like Castira is still running around wild on top, but there are also some other unexpected decks like Dragon Link here and there, and also Sprite as usual. So now that we have a good snapshot of the metagame, I want to talk to you guys about some cards that I think you should definitely be playing. And starting off, that's with Dark Ruler No More. So obviously when Sprite being such a prevalent deck in the metagame, being able to pour up a board with like 4 or 5 negations, sometimes even like runic cards in their hand, being able to draw multiple cards if they're playing, and also like the live twin stuff to pop, their draw. A lot of advantage, and there's no other card that concretely deals with their board than Dark Ruler No More, getting rid of as far as like a 3 or even 4 for 1, because you're negating all of the cards with just one card. It's a lot better than other options that you have, including things like Triple Tactics, because that's only a 2 for 1 that they can negate with Carrot. This just says a blanket card wipe to their field. They can't use any effects, and then from there you can use the rest of the cards in your hand, including Engine, to try and break that board and set up your own defenses. So I think this is absolutely needed just because of the existence of Sprite being able to put up all those negates, Sprite Red, Sprite Carrot, here and there on the board. This is really, really important. It also has some crossover depending on what deck you're playing. You know, if you're scared of a Rise Heart and you don't really have a lot of outs, this could actually be an out against a Rise Heart, because you do need to turn that off for certain decks like Tearlaments in order to play, because you're so graveyard reliant. In other matchups, it could be decent as a 1 for 1 as well, sometimes even a 2 for 1 against like Sword Soul, like random rogue decks here and there. So there's a lot of crossover in this card, in addition to it being good in Sprite. So I definitely think that everyone should be siding at least 3 copies of this card in their side deck for going second against those decks. The next card is actually Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion. So we already know that there are a lot of graveyard reliant effects running around in the metagame right now. So it's really, really crucial that we do have Ghost Spell, especially against Branded, when they're using things like the Sanctifier Dragon to try and Gimmick Puppet lock you. Not every time, they're not always going to have Mercurier, right? So sometimes like the Ghost Spell is still going to be live. It's also good going second. You can shut off a lot of things like the Albion as well, the effect to banish from the graveyard, so sometimes you can catch them off guard, and then that could potentially work as an Imperm effect. It's also good against Branded and Red, so primarily it's good against Branded, which is one of the most represented decks right now in the metagame, and then it still has some crossover against some other decks. You know, if you're playing against the Labyrinth, which is also a popular potential tier 1 contender. It's actually won a lot of tournaments. I believe that someone actually used it to win the public events playoff to go to Worlds, or the Worlds playoff rather. So it's a very powerful deck on its own, and being able to negate Big Welcome Labyrinths, which is one of their biggest engine pieces, is really important. You could also use it defensively against other cards like Called by the Grave, and even like Needy Crow if someone's like siding that, or if they're siding like the BYSTIALS against you, you can actually prevent them from banishing a crucial card in your graveyard if you're playing something like Branded, for example. Which brings us to their next card, which is actually the BYSTIALS. So if you're not playing Ghost Spell, it has to be the BYSTIALS. It has to be one or the other. The thing I like better about Ghost Spell is that it does have that crossover against Labyrinth, which is like one of the best decks right now. However, with the BYSTIALS, I think it's still like decently good, because a lot of times you can make use of them being a dragon, you know, like Magnemite being research, for example, in Dragon Link, you access basically your entire engine. In Branded, you're able to search Fallen of Albaz for follow-up plays, and just getting 2 bodies on board is really important with Jerusalem as well. Against decks like Sprite, it could act as a 2 for 1 because you're putting 2 bodies on board that threaten to swing over certain monsters, so they have to deal with them. So you should definitely be playing Ghost Spell or the BYSTIALS in your side deck for sure, because they're just so good against Light and Dark decks as well, against Branded, which is like the main thing that we want to deal with in terms of Light and Dark monsters, and then against other monster decks as well, that like Dragon Link, and then just putting on the bodies on board for pressure as well. Another card that you should be siding, I think, is DINOWRESTLER PANKRATOPS. I don't see a lot of people siding this card, but like the sheer power of this card is just like so powerful that everyone's seemingly forgotten about it and erased it from their palette. But this card, it's always almost a 2 for 1, because it has 2600 defense. You drop it, you threaten to blow something up by battle, and then you use the effect to pop, and it can also target the back row as well. So any annoying floodgates, things like anti-spell fragments, certain decks that are playing there can be only one, for example, Vanquish Soul, just anything that you have to get rid of. This is just like a clean wipe, and on top of all that, you have a chance to threaten the battle by attacking into something. So I just think this is a no-brainer. It's really good against Cashier as well. You can pop like a Rise Heart. It could be used defensively to pop Birth. You can pop a lot of things in that matchup. So I think everyone should be siding this. It's at 1 copy for a reason, guys. This is an absolutely busted card. So please start siding this card again, guys. Like, I see people playing like 3 Cosmic Cyclones over a PANKRATOPS, and I'm just sitting there like, why would you not play PANKRATOPS over one of the slots for the Cosmic Cyclone? Because this is just a better card. It targets monsters as well, right? So like, comparing these cards, I think this card is just like the go-to. Now, we just mentioned that, but back row removal, I think, is really, really crucial, especially Cosmic Cyclone. There are a lot of floodgates in this deck. People are playing, there can be only one in Vanquish Soul, anti-spell fragrance. It's even good against a lot of rogue contender strategies, which Sky Striker seemingly appears to be, because I haven't really seen it top any events after this weekend. But it's still in the metagame. People are still going to play it. It's good against multi-row. It's good against, like, a lot of cards that are prevalent in the back row right now. Like, people are siding even Power Filter as a floodgate. So, you know, any way to get rid of cards, and this is also good against Cashier of Birth. It's good against the field spell as well, so being able to use it in response to a Birth activation, being able to use it in response to a planet activation is always super good, because that deck bricks a lot. Like, they were bricking previously with 3 Unicorn, now they're down to 2 Unicorn, so like, they're still bricking. If you're going to Cosmic the field spell, sometimes that could just mean they pass their turn, so it's very, 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 very good card going first, potentially, and going second. So I think this is just a no-brainer. It's almost good enough to main deck, honestly. If we had room, then I would definitely consider maining it, because it just hits everything. It hits Branded Lost even. I just think that you guys should definitely play the quick play variant, because it's a little better than Lightning Storm. You can chain it, you can drop mid to late game, you can start playing it. Even though it costs 1,000 life points, I just like it better. And obviously being able to hit floodgates in response, so hitting like skill drain when they least expect it, is always really important, because they might sequence their plays and not activate certain cards, banking on the floodgate instead to stop you, and then at the last possible moment you're chaining that Cosmic Cyclone to get the most value out of it. Other cards that we want to talk about is actually Dimensional Barrier. So I know Branded is not really winning, it's not that good right now, but people are still playing it. This has some crossover against other decks, like against Cashier, it's not the best card, I would say, but certain scenarios it could work. It could stop them off, shut them off from using their XYZ plays. So if you're playing like a big combo deck, maybe this is just what you need to stop them from pushing past your board, because Fenrir and Unicorn by themselves might not be enough. And then with your board on the following turn, you could just wipe out for a game. Alternatively, you could be playing Grave of the Super Ancient Organism as well, because this is basically Mystic Mine against Branded, but it also has some crossover against Cashier. It stops all of the regular monsters like Fenrir and Unicorn. It doesn't stop the XYZs, so just beware of that. But getting some value out of flipping this immediately and forcing them to neg by not being able to use the Fenrir and Unicorn before they overlay an XYZ to get rid of this is kind of nice. But it's always good to pair this with another card so you can stop their XYZ push, whether that's Zeus or like a Dark Armed Dragon of Annihilation, so they can't pop it, and then you just have it on the field chilling there so they can't use their Fenrirs and so on and so forth. So definitely, I think you guys should be siding D-Barrier or Grave of the Super Ancient Organism in some capacity, because they're just really, really powerful cards. Even going second against Branded, I like this card a lot, because you're effectively shutting them off from killing you. Like, they have no outs in Engine to stop this card, so just setting this going first, second when they have a board and you just say go, and then you just flip this. They can't attack, they can't use the effects, so it's like a Mystic Mine, guys. Like, you know, it's not just going first card. I said this thing going second and it works. And especially if they don't expect it going second, they're not going to side in Cosmic Cyclone going first, right? So if you're going second and you side this in, they could just have no answers in their deck, and then that's just game. Another card I want to talk about is Triple Tactics Talent. Obviously, I think everyone's already well in the know that this card is just so busted that they should definitely be playing this in multiple copies in some capacity, whether that's in the main or side deck. People seem to still love hand traps right now. I see a lot of hand traps flying around. There are a lot of powerful hand traps in terms of Ash, Ghost Spell, a lot of stuff that kind of turns off Engine for certain decks. So having the Triple Tactics Talent being more live than usual, being more live in this format especially, I think is really, really important. It's a little too busted being able to look at your opponent's hand when they hand trap you, and then being able to loop one of the cards back to their deck. It's just a no-brainer. I think this is just such a good card. It can replenish your hand by drawing 2 cards. Shuddering is a Pot of Greed. You can steal cards non-targeting. It's really, really hard for a Cashier to deal with this. If they have like a full board with like Fenrir, Shangri-La, and then like A-Rise Heart, and you go Triple Tactics Talent, it's really awkward for them. They either have to chain and banish their own Arise Heart, and then you can just steal the Fenrir and start banishing their field, or they just leave it and you take the Arise Heart and make a big Zeus. Like, it's very awkward as a player on the receiving end of Triple Tactics Talent. So I think you guys should be playing this or Thrust, or in some combination, so you can search each other. And then this card is kind of the last couple of cards, I guess, specific to Castira, because I know the decks are so popular. But enemy controller, you guys should definitely be siding this or even main decking this. This is the single-handed best card in the mirror match because you're gonna get 2-for-1 value at all times. Even if they have Lance, it doesn't matter because ideally you're gonna go one of your Unicorn or Fenrir effects. If they chain something like Imperm, you can just chain Econ to take control of it. If they're good though, they might play around Econ and not Imperm right away, which you get some value out of because of the fact that they know Econ exists somewhere in your deck. They're just playing worse to accommodate that so they don't get blown out by it. But at some form, they're definitely going to get blown out. You can't play around this card forever. This is going to take control of something or attempt to take control of something. At worst, even going first, I would definitely side this in because that mirror match is #1 grindy, so you can hold this in your hand. Or you could even set this and prevent them from making Zeus, because when they go to attack with an XYZ, or go to attack your XYZ for that matter, you can use enemy controller to put their monster in defense mode. It even works against things like Fenrir, so they don't get the banish on the attack, right? You just put something in defense mode, and that actually does a lot more than you guys would expect. So definitely side 3 copies of this if you're playing Castira, because it's probably the best deck in the metagame right now, and this is like the best card in that matchup. And then against other matchups, it has crossover. Like I've used this before to beat Sprite, to break Sprite boards like without a Dark Ruler, which is just enemy controller and like Talents or something else while playing Castira. Because again, similar, like they're gonna negate with Sprite Orange, or like negate, and then you chain the effect of Econ, try and take something, bait out the carrot, or you can take the Gigantic and swing and make Zeus. There's a lot of application being a quick play, being able to get the 2-for-1 value by baiting them to respond to your monster and then chaining to take it. So I think this is no-brainer. It should be in everyone's deck. And then also Forbidden Lance, because everyone's playing Castira, everyone's playing like Book of Moon, enemy controller, triple attack is talent. A lot of people are siding Dark Ruler as well, like we just covered, just to get rid of a Rise Heart. So always having the Lance live is super, super important. I also love the battle part of this, so reducing something by 800 is really relevant. You can go and crash over something that you wouldn't normally be able to. I've had players that summon PANKRATOPS and they go and attack like my attack mode Fenrir, and then I go like damage step Lance, right? It forces them to either use the effect of PANKRATOPS so they only get the 2-for-1, or die by battle, which is just like a blowout. So definitely guys, please be main decking a couple of copies of Lance because it's very needed again. And then the last card is Book of Moon. This is just such a good card against Castira. You shut them off from playing when you book their first summon. The only follow-up that they would have is Birth, and then normal summoning, or Birth and then special summoning if they already had something banished. So this is no-brainer. It's also really, really good against other matchups. You can book things. The only matchup it's kind of dead against is Sky Striker. However, if they brick and they go like normal summon Rose and you just book a Moon, that's just also a huge, huge blowout. So this card is just good going first, good going second as well, because you bait out a negation. Going first against Sprite, you can book with their monster, so they can't extend either. I think it's just such a powerful card, being able to go first and second, and cards that are good going first and second are always amazing because there's so much utility. They're so versatile. They're seeing a lot more play. You siding them in basically every game across a lot of matchups. So this is like one of the top 10 cards right now for sure. Yeah, you guys should definitely be playing this. And that's about it for the cards, at least I've seen after analyzing the metagame over the past weekend. If you guys have any other cards or ideas that we should look at, definitely let us know. Other than that, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.